very good evening to you. Great to have you with us. As always, NTV Tonight starts right now.
Tonight, the president is in China for the Belt and Road Initiative. That means more belt tightening for the country. The 148 billion shilling bill you could be forced to pay for 8 debt-saddled government institutions.
Also tonight,
some of these things, they are what we call constructive breaking, constructive robbery.
Who in Barclays Bank facilitated the theft of over 11 million shillings last Sunday?
Plus, the case of the dead claiming compensation from cash-strapped Sony Sugar.
Even after the death of my father, they were doing this case until they were paid some amount of money.
Also tonight, the Huduma number headwinds.
With this number, we're able to plan for our schools, we're able to plan even in terms of medical services.
And government's resolve.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai and Smriti Vidyarth.
Glad you could join us tonight. Our sign language interpreter is Flora. Actually, it is David Agundo, I beg your pardon. And tonight, NTV can reveal that the Kenyan taxpayer could be forced to pay up to 148 billion shillings to creditors if 8 state corporations default on repayment of loans guaranteed by the government as at the end of last year.
Well, this coming just hours before President Uhuru Kenyatta signs another 368 billion shilling loan in China for the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu.
But it is these revelations in a document by the Parliamentary Budget Office and presented to the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly today that could spell doom for a country already struggling with mounting public debt.
Among the companies in question are Kenya Power, Kenya Ports Authority and Kenya Airways. Victor Kiprop begins our broadcast with Kenya's debt burden.
According to the document seen by NTV, struggling national carrier Kenya Airways leads the pack of state corporations with huge government-guaranteed debts at 76.4 billion shillings, followed by Kenya Ports Authority at 33.6 billion shillings, Kenya Power at 14 billion shillings, and electricity generator KenGen at 10.28 billion shillings. Other corporations in the list include struggling state broadcaster KBC, Kenya Railways, cash-strapped East African Portland Cement, and the Tana and Athi Rivers Development Authority. KBC's troubles can be traced to 1989 when it took a 1 billion shillings loan to improve and expand its national medium wave frequency radio broadcasting network, a loan that has since expanded to an estimated 40 billion shillings. At 147.7 billion shillings, the figure is 14 billion shillings higher than the 133.79 billion shillings in guarantees as of December 2017, but only 8.1 billion shillings of the amount is listed as non-performing, meaning it's either defaulted or likely to be defaulted. The revelations come amid concerns over Kenya's ballooning public debt and the growing debt repayment pressure. In the next financial year, the National Treasury estimates that 1.1 trillion shillings, equivalent to 61% of the total projected tax collections, will be spent on debt repayment. Last year, a leaked report by the Auditor General indicated that Kenya risked losing the port of Mombasa to China if Kenya Railways Corporation defaults in the payment of a 227 billion shillings loan it took from the Exim Bank of China for the construction of the Mombasa-Nairobi standard gauge railway. Meanwhile, President Uhuru Kenyatta is in Beijing, China to negotiate for even more debt, some 368 billion shillings loan for the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu. In its annual public debt management report, the National Treasury projects that Kenya's public debt will hit about 7 trillion shillings by 2022. Mgwen Member of Parliament Alexander Kosgei has however drafted a bill seeking to limit the country's public debt to 6 trillion shillings and compel the National Treasury to present a clear repayment plan for each borrowing. Victor Kiprop, NTV.
Kenya's debt train is getting longer, so to speak. As it stands, our public debt is at, get this, 5.3 trillion shillings. I actually have to move to make room for these zeros. 5.3 trillion shillings. This means the public debt burden on you, that is each Kenyan, is 111,583 shillings and 5 cents. Well, this, of course, is from Kenya's estimated population of 47.8 million people. This is according to the National Bureau of Statistics, beg your pardon. These are the latest numbers that it has given. To give context to this 5.3 trillion shilling figure that we have given, it includes domestic debt at 2.6 trillion shillings and external debt at 2.7 trillion shillings. As that sinks in, another number, not from this big number, another number the Kenyans have been talking about, the ongoing Huduma number registration will continue despite a decision by Parliament to bar the company that supplied the equipment. Information, Communication and Technology Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru says Idemia Securities, the company in question, only provided the hardware and that the software was developed locally.
The government says the French firm Idemia Securities did not provide the software being used to register Kenyans under Huduma number. In a statement sent to newsrooms early Thursday, the government clarified its engagement with the firm that has changed names thrice since it started doing business in Kenya in 2013. The statement says the 35,000 Morpho Tablet 2 data capture kits were the only hardware components supplied by Idemia. The kits were acquired on an outright purchase basis, and as such, there is no existing contract beyond this. Therefore, the directions by the National Assembly do not affect Huduma number in any way. ICT-CS Joe Musheru, in an interview with NTV, also allayed fears of the process being affected by the parliamentary move to bar the company.
There are many ways we're going to, first of all, ensure that with this number we have a clean system. We're able to plan for our schools in terms of how many kids are coming next year so that we have the right schools. We're able to plan even in terms of medical services, all the things that we're doing with the Big Four.
Parliament on Wednesday voted to block the French company from transacting any business in the country for at least 10 years. In its findings, the Public Accounts Committee found the French firm was not registered when it went into business with the government, contrary to the Companies Act. In 2013, the firm supplied the multi-billion shilling biometric voter registration kits as Saffron Morpho before changing to OT Morpho in the 2017 elections. Idemia has also bid for the country's census slated for August this year. But even as the government calls on Kenyans to continue registering for the Huduma number, it has issued a stern warning to officials it has contracted to carry out registration against colluding with unscrupulous printers to sell the forms.
Sasa wanatuhusia makaratasi na tuko na watoto pia wanataka wanunuliwe. Sasa mimi nauliza hiyo pesa wataturudishia ama nini?
Ni tunaambiwa ni mbao, naenda kwa cyber ndio upewe.
Sasa tunashinda wanapewa wanasirudisha huku nyuma ndio tuende kununua ama ni nini?
At a station in Kangemi, the officials are plainly asking those turning up for registration to purchase the forms at 20 shillings.
Sasa niliona government imeacha kuprocess paper, hizi papers, nikaona yenyewe acha mimi yenyewe nijiandike kazi, nijiandike tu kazi kama mimi.
Huduma number registration forms are free. If anyone tries to sell the form to you, please report them to the nearest police station and let us know.
At the same time, 4 men were charged at the Milimani Law Court with stealing NIMS kits. They were released on a 30,000 shillings cash bail. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
Elsewhere, the Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, described the Easter Sunday theft of cash from 4 Barclays Bank ATMs as an inside job. Sources within the bank told NTV that while the Mutindwa Kenya Cinema, Kenyatta and Mata Hospital ATMs carry the bank's name, their operations were outsourced to G4S. The revelations were made as a suspect in the 14.5 million shilling heist was presented before a Kiambu court. Here's Olive Burrows with more.
I don't know whether to call it robbery or whatever, but let me be sincere and tell you the truth. You can see even by the time when somebody is interfering, isn't it, with the camera, somebody must be kind of watching what is happening because they have a purpose, isn't it?
The Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti's description of the Easter Sunday theft of cash from 4 Barclays Bank ATMs in Nairobi. The efficiency and precision with which the 14.5 million shillings was stolen, Kinoti says, was most likely an inside job.
If we can be talking about a place where I suppose we have a CCTV camera, there is none, isn't it? And where there is one, somebody smears with some substance and all that, isn't it? If that camera is supposed to trigger an alarm elsewhere, they are what we call constructive breaking, constructive robbery. That is the ones which are just done by their own people. They know exactly what is happening. But I can tell you, it's only the facilitators outside there.
The task at hand now to identify the suspects. With eyes pointed at the Barclays Bank, which only last month had members of its staff taken in for questioning after one of its safety deposit boxes was found stashed with fake gold. In this latest case of criminal activity, sources within the bank are keen to make the point that the offence did not take place under its nose, pointing out that the 4 Barclays Bank ATMs that were hit were off-site and therefore their operations outsourced to the G4S security service provider. G4S charged with replenishing the cash dispensing machines and their servicing, and therefore in possession of the supervisory passwords, access keys and codes. For a Barclays Bank employee to do any kind of work at the ATMs, they would have had to physically go there with a G4S staffer. A source speaking on condition of anonymity told NTV. No member of the Barclays Bank staff has been detained by the police. Those who have been detained include Patrick Nyoike Karanja, who was on Thursday presented before a Kiambu court.
Once we put some people in custody, they are the ones who trigger to get to the next and the next and the next. Very soon, the Director of Public Prosecution will be using a comprehensive statement because we are almost about to finish our case. We are about to hand over the case to him.
Olive Barrows, NTV.
Meanwhile, 2 accounts belonging to Odingo and Company advocates, one of the law firms at the center of a multi-million shilling scam involving the cash-strapped South Nyanza Sugar Company, have been frozen as investigations aimed at bringing to book the masterminds of the fraud hots up.
Oko Okusa reports from Awendo in Migori County, where the struggling sugar firm is battling more than 7,000 cases in various courts in Migori, Kisii and Kehancha.
George Odiko, Barack Okongo and Edward Onyango scrutinizing some of the documents said to have been used by the lawyers to file suits against Sony Sugar on their behalf. The 3 are sugarcane farmers from Kanyagwala village in Migori County. They are among thousands of cane farmers in the area who are reeling in shock following revelations that a clique of lawyers could have used forged documents bearing their particulars to defraud the cash-strapped sugar miller more than 500 million shillings. The cases mainly involve compensations for unharvested cane or non-payment of cane delivered.
Na your advocate tangu alipwe mpaka saa hii karibu mwaka mitatu saa hii hajanilipa ni pesa yangu.
What has baffled detectives investigating the scam is that some of the purported claimants had long died by the time the suits were filed.
Even after the death of my father, they were doing this case until they were paid some amount of money. They were paid. They never involved the family when they were paid. They never even informed our parents because my mothers are still at home, and even us as the sons. We are 6 of us. We were not aware.
Another case involving a dead person is that of Samson Ontiri, a sugarcane farmer from Nyabera village in Gucha sub-county who died at Tabaka Mission Hospital on 3rd of September 2013, but mysteriously filed a civil suit on 28th December 2017.
Because even by the time when my father died, they had harvested much early, paid him to a tune of 200 and something thousand, which he used before he died. Later, 2 raccoons were developed by my stepmother. Then one was harvested by the company. It was paid to her. The others, she sold it to the jaggery. So we have no case with the company.
In some instances, Investigations have revealed that the lawyers refiled old and already settled suits. A case in point is this one involving one John Otieno Orwa, which was first filed in 2015 as civil suit number 2385 and was heard and determined in 2017. Intriguingly, the same case was filed again in 2018 as civil suit number 299, in which the plaintiff demanded payment for 32 tons of unharvested cane valued at 3,500 shillings per ton. But reached for comment, one of the lawyers adversely mentioned in the scandal, Samuel Odingo, dismissed the allegations as baseless.
If they are claiming that they have not been paid, have they come to the office and we refuse to pay them?
They are saying that they didn't even have a case against Sony in the first
But
place.
how did I get their files? How did I get their documents?
Fraudulently. That is
How did I get their documents? Because me, I'm seated in my office, somebody comes, Mr. Odingo, do for me this case. Then I take instructions.
But now, yeah, the situation where they're saying that they didn't even come to you. How are you representing people who have not come to...
But how did I get their documents if they didn't come to me?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
So the person who is supposed to be blamed is that person who is claiming. How did Odingo get these your documents?
Odingo also rubbished the dead men resurrecting to file civil suits claims as mere fabrications.
My friend, the person who has come to my office is existing unless he died after instruction. Unless he died after instruction. Yeah. And if I'm told that he died after instruction, I will withdraw. Or I'll make an application for substitution.
Odingo's company accounts holding over 16 million shillings has since been frozen as the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution and that of the DCI moved in to tighten the noose on those involved in the racket. Also under police radar is David Kerario Marwa of Kerario Marwa and Company Advocates. Of the 50 cases already sampled by Advanced Forensics Limited, a private investigator hired by the company to probe the fraud, 24 have been concluded in various courts and Sony ordered to pay millions of shillings. James Olwach, Sony's acting managing director, declined to comment on the scam when reached for comment, even after it emerged that some individuals in the Sugar Millers Company Secretary's office aided and abetted the fraud. Okukusa, NTV.
Right, from that story, let's shift focus. And lawyer Asa Nyakundi, who is the prime suspect in the murder of his son Joseph, will spend the night in police cells.
The lawyer appeared in court for the first time today, a month after the incident, and will learn of his charges tomorrow.
Seth Olale with the latest from the Makadara Law Courts.
Asa Nyakundi, who has not appeared in court since the death of his son a month ago, has been hospitalized and was only discharged on Tuesday. The city lawyer is the main suspect in the death of his son, Joseph Nyakundi, who was shot on March 17th in Muthaiga. Oliver Nabonwe, the investigating officer attached to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Serious Crimes Unit, Homicide Division, requested the court to detain the suspect for at least a day in order to obtain fingerprints and for the lawyer to reconstruct the crime scene.
It's a matter that has attracted a lot of public interest. However, it must also be treated as any other normal investigation.
It is upon conclusion of the process that the Director of Public Prosecution will prefer murder or manslaughter charges against the lawyer. Defense lawyers led by Ken Nyaundi did not object to the prosecution's request of detaining the suspect for a day, but urged the city lawyer to be returned in court on Friday at noon to take plea should charges be preferred against him by the DPP.
The respondent will be detained at Muthaiga Police Station to facilitate the completion of the investigations.
Chief Magistrate Heston Nyaga granted police more time to finalize the investigations and ordered the suspect to be brought back to court on Friday noon. An autopsy report conducted on the deceased body revealed that he could have been shot from outside the vehicle and not inside as it was initially reported. The accused person in this particular murder case, lawyer Asa Nyakundi, who has been hospitalized for a period of 6 weeks, will be arraigned in court again on Friday for further directions. Seth Olale, NTV at the Makadara Law Courts, Nairobi County.
Detectives from the DCI and Flying Squad units are pushing to stop Nyahururu court from releasing a consignment of 2,000 bags of contaminated sugar into the market.
The goods belong to Nyahururu businessman Masai Kigo, who has been fighting in court for the release of his consignment.
NTV's Mel Miendo reports that detectives say the samples obtained from the consignment show it has some traces of heavy metals.
Detectives say the over 2,000 bags of sugar that were impounded in a wholesale store in Nyahururu and that belong to businessman Masai Kigo are contaminated. A joint operation by detectives from the DCI and the Flying Squad found evidence from the government labs and the Kenya Bureau of Standards that the sugar was unfit for human consumption. Documents seen by NTV revealed that the sugar contained yeast, mold and some traces of mercury, copper and lead, and was thus unfit for human consumption. The detectives want the court to bar the businessman from releasing the sugar into the market.
We are putting in a tough fight, but however, at the end of the day, we shall go by the court's verdict. If it orders tomorrow that we release the consignment to the purported owner, we shall do so.
The contaminated sugar is currently held within the precincts of the Nyahururu Law Courts after Nyahururu High Court Judge Ochola Mumanyi asked that it be presented to him for verification.
The indication by the state that they have further evidence regarding the unfitness or fitness of the exhibits, in my view, is not here nor there. And the issues, in my view, are speculative. So the court cannot second guess on the alleged further reports.
Detectives now claim the businessman connived with the magistrate to have the consignment released to him. The sugar had been seized in June 2018.
Our fear is if we release the sugar to the purported owner, it will find itself to the shelves of our supermarkets, putting the health of our populace at risk.
Mel Miendo, NTV.
And in other news from the court, the government has been dealt another blow in its push to implement the Housing Fund levy after the court extended its implementation following the hearing of a petition seeking to block the new deductions.
The Office of the Attorney General has been keen to have the case heard as soon as possible, but the court gave more time for consultations. The case will be heard again on the 20th of May.
Elsewhere, former National Lands Commission Chairman Mohammed Swazuri will remain in police custody until next Thursday, when the court will rule on whether his 12 million shilling cash bail should be reviewed.
Swazuri and several others are charged with conspiring to commit corruption through fraudulent payments of 109 million shillings for the compulsory acquisition of land from tornado carriers on behalf of Kenya National Highways Authority.
The accused were granted bail on Tuesday, but none of them have met the terms of their release.
From the courts, we go to a break. Stay with NTV Tonight. Thank you for staying with us. Vote counting is ongoing in the Wajir West constituency by-election.
NTV Silas Apollo has been monitoring the mini poll and he has this report. Or rather, Silas joins us live now from Wajir. Silas, what can you tell us about the results so far in the poll?
Thank you very much. We have been waiting for the results. Of course, a number of polling stations were closed a bit late. The IBC says that as a result of the breakdown of the KM's kits, they had extended the voting in some polling stations by about 2 hours. So it means that they ended at around 7:30. But as you right now, the number of results have started streaming in. The returning officers are coming into the constituency tallying center with the results, which are currently being announced. So far, so good. No incident has been reported as at yet. The returning officer, of course, counting the results as they come in. A rough estimate of what has happened right now in terms of the figures is that, of course, Jubilee candidate Ahmed Kolosh and KANU candidate Ibrahim Mohammed are neck to neck in the race. So it could be a bit early to say who is going to win, but we'll be keeping tabs to it. But earlier on, we transversed across the constituency, covering the voting, how it was happening. Of course, we filed a report, and this is the following report that we filed. The Wajir West constituency was today morning a hive of activities as residents streamed into the polling stations to cast their ballots. Most polling stations in the constituency opened as early as 6 a.m. At Wajir Girls Secondary School, which is one of the polling stations in the constituency, long queues were witnessed as early as 6:30 a.m. Residents said they were satisfied with the level of preparedness by the IBC, even though some complained of occasional breakdown of the electronic voter identification machines.
2017 ilikuwa inaenda faster, lakini leo haiendi faster.
Nilizunguka karibu station 4 hivi na kulikuwa na shida ya kwamba pali mashini yote pali zingine zimeshinda kufanya kazi.
The situation was same in Kalkasho Primary School, another polling station in the constituency, where voting kicked off smoothly, according to residents.
The KIMS kit is too slow. It takes quite a long time to identify one person, especially the old people who have rough fingerprints.
Unfortunately, in some polling stations like Shant Abak and Lagbol Primary School, our agents were locked out, and we had to call the returning officer for them to be allowed to come in.
The voting, however, was in some areas marred by low turnouts, which leaders in the area attributed to the ongoing drought, which has forced residents to move away from their homes in search of water and pasture. In one polling station, voting was interrupted after one of the agents of the candidates in the election was accused of bribing voters.
There are small areas where people, small skirmishes here and there, but there's nothing much. Security-wise, things are not bad, and I urge all, everywhere, the people who are voting today, they should be peaceful.
Wajir West constituency has about 27,544 voters, according to statistics by the IBC. Silas Apollo, NTV, in Wajir County.
Go ahead.
All right, that report there by Silas Apollo, who joined us briefly before he gave us that report live from Wajir County, and he will remain in that county until the results are out. He'll bring us the latest as and when he can.
That's right, and of course he said Ahmed Kolosh of Jubilee and Ibrahim Mohammed of KANU are neck to neck. Wajir West, the counting is continuing, and it's a bit too early to call it right now, but he'll definitely have the final numbers for us as he follows up on the story. To another development today.
A pastor in Kayole was arraigned at the Makadara law courts, having been accused of sodomizing several children in the area.
Josiah Mogoka Ndirango of the God of Mercy's Church in Kayole has allegedly been luring male children aged between 10 and 16 and forcing them to engage in unnatural acts with him.
According to area residents, his secret had been well kept for a long time until now.
They are the portraits of innocence, something that they found hard to hold on to in the presence of Josiah Mogoka Ndirango, a pastor who has allegedly been preying on the young and engaging in unnatural acts with them.
Kwa nini ananiharibia mtoto hivyo na mtoto wangu nimetoka nayo mbali?
2007 babake akufe, alimwacha kama akona miaka 3, nahangaika na watoto. Kwa nini ananiharibia maisha ya mtoto?
Area residents were suspicious of his involvement with young boys, but there wasn't sufficient proof. That's until one of his victims let out the secret.
Nimeenda kuita rafiki yangu huko juu, kupanda juu, nikasikiwa nimeshikwa, nimefunikwa mdomo. So kuingiza kwa nyumba, nikafungua mguu na mkono, nikarushuka kitanda. Kurushuka kitanda, huyo jamaa akabidi anitoe nguo, akanifanya kitu yenye anamfanyia, alafu akaenda. Ameanza kunikisa. Mimi nikatoka, nimemsukuma. Akaenda hivi, ameenda kando. Kuamka amenishika mkono. Anataka nirudi. Nimetoa mkono yangu, mlango alikuwa amefunga na juu. Kutoka akaniambia hiyo kwa siri yangu na yeye watu wawili. Nikamwambia ashindwe.
It is alleged that the pastor was luring the children with money and other goodies and threatening them into silence.
Aliniambia ati hiyo kesi kijulikana, nitakuwa nimejipoteza. Wala akitoka gerezani, tusiwahi patana naye mahali fulani.
Mtu ile insight anapatia watoto ni kutuharibia generation. Kesho si pia ataenda akiintroduce wale wengine. Na hata saa hii ratio iko Kenya ya wanaume kwa wanawake ni 1:10. Kesho watoto wakianza kuwa na wanaume kwa wanaume, au wanawake wanaenda kuonewa wapi? Si pia wanawake wataanza sasa ni wanawake kwa wanawake.
The court has given police at the Molem police station up to 2nd of May to build a case against the pastor, upon which the court process will begin. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
As one of those boys said, indeed, ashindwe. 3 people are recuperating at Mudhara Level 4 Hospital in Meru from suspected anthrax.
2 patients who were receiving treatment at the hospital have died, and the samples sent to the Kenya Medical Research Institute in Nairobi for further tests.
The total number of those affected was initially 18. The Mudhara Level 4 Hospital superintendent says that the treated patients have responded well to anthrax treatment, and he is hoping that the others will also respond positively.
The patients are reported to have told doctors that they consumed beef from a cow that died from an unidentified disease at Mudhara village.
It's now time for a business break, and actually giving credit where it's due, the earlier numbers that we threw there for your attention. That is the debt levels, 5.3 trillion shillings, and of course that meaning 111,000 shillings you owe, given the debt levels. Credit to our in-house macroeconomist, Julians Amboko.
That's right, and Julians joins us right after this break with the business news. Stay with us.
Are you Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. An expansion of 6.6% in the agricultural sector last year compared to 1.8% in 2017 helped push Kenya's annual economic growth rate above the 6% mark. According to the 2019 economic survey that has just been released, strong performance from tourism also helped bolster economic growth. Here's Alex Mwangi with some of the highlights of the survey and growing focus on the urgency to address the issue on interest rate caps.
The economy grew by 6.3% in 2018 compared to 4.9% in 2017. Credit to the private sector, however, grew by just 1.9% last year compared to 4.1% in 2017. It is that figure that is now a source of concern in high levels of government, especially with regard to the interest rate cap regime.
That tells us that we need to continue dealing with the challenge of the interest rate capping. Because this phenomena has been seen since the interest rate capping started. So this calls for urgent need for the review of our interest rate capping regime.
The minimal expansion in credit to the private sector took place despite the financial sector growing by 5.6% in 2018 compared to growth of 2.8% in 2017. The economy created 840,600 jobs during the 12-month period. The bulk of them, 83.6%, in the informal sector. The Jubilee government has yet again missed the mark of creating upwards of 1 million jobs per annum. While the informal sector is the biggest provider of jobs in the country, lack of decent jobs mean that the government has found it difficult to collect taxes effectively from them.
Already, what we are generating from in terms of mobilizing revenue has reached a plateau. We have a very small formal sector, about 3.01 million, who are paying pay as you want.
The government continues to tout its headline economic growth number even though it's well below what had been envisioned.
The growth is also higher than the 3% recorded for the Sub-Saharan Africa region in 2018, and also 3.6% estimated for the global economy.
This is below the target that we had hoped to grow as an economy, particularly given the guidance that we are given by the Vision 2030.
Agriculture is the mainstay of Kenya's economy, but even with the improved performance last year, it still has many Kenyans eking out a living. Hence, a need for the government to take up the challenge of making economic growth beneficial to a bigger swath of the population. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And staying with the subject of growth, policies adopted to protect domestic industry could just be paying off if the latest economic growth numbers are anything to go by. According to the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, sectors such as textiles and steel have played a pivotal role in the 6.3% economic growth reported in 2018. In the budget statement for financial year 2018-2019, the National Treasury proposed a hike in the duty charged on imported iron and steel from 25% to 35%, a move it said was geared towards protecting local industry from cheap imports. Similarly, the Treasury proposed a hike in the duty charged on imported textiles to $5 or 35%, whichever is higher. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers now says this in part explains the rebound in the growth of the manufacturing sector to 4.2% from 0.5% in 2017.
Some sectors such as edible oils got some protection together with the metal sector. They have indicated that their numbers have improved. Also, you must also remember during the last year presidential round table, there was the multi-agency task force meant to deal with the illicit trade, and some positive impact is happening.
The association, however, warns that Kenya needs to urgently scale up its industrial competitiveness if it is to meet the growing competition from a rapidly evolving region.
Our manufacturing sector should be competitive. All the sectors at the moment are operating below their installed capacity. For example, the edible oil, they are operating at around 50%.
With the prospect of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area becoming imminent, many wait to see just how Kenya's manufacturing will compete in a more liberalized market. And I'm sure there's varied opinion out there as to what import substitution-led industrialization could mean for Kenya's economy and the manufacturing sector. But that's a story for another day. Elsewhere, Kenya has signed a protocol with the Chinese government on sanitary requirements for the export of frozen avocado to China. The two countries are in the process of signing other protocols on 13 other farm products in the ongoing effort to open the Chinese market up for Kenyan products. Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya says Kenya is positioning itself to optimize on the opportunity presented by the vast Chinese market and reduce the trade imbalance between the two countries. Munya is part of Kenya's delegation in China for the Second Belt and Road Forum.
We want to prioritize 5 markets and five bilateral agreements that we can actualize in the shortest time possible. And one of the guiding factors is where we have a big balance of trade. China becomes one of the key, and where we have a huge market.
And back home, the National Cereals and Produce Board must be done away with entirely in order to save the maize farmer. This is according to Trans Nzoia Governor, who says that the NCPB is an outdated institution that has consistently failed farmers and therefore no longer has a place in the farming of the systems.
We need to review all the institutions that support agriculture in this country on a very serious note. Any NCPB in its current form is outdated, it's not giving the necessary service to our farmers. It has to be scrapped and a new institution put in place.
Governor Kaimba's remarks come after recent controversies involving the NCPB that saw farmers complain that there is a lack of market for their maize after the NCPB delayed to purchase their grain. The Cereals Produce Board had also enforced a 400-bag limit on how much maize it could buy per farmer in a bid to weed out cartels. However, the Ministry of Agriculture was forced to lift the limit in a bid to stabilize the maize supply in the market and in turn the price of maize flour after the price of a 2 kg packet of maize rose by up to 28%. The large-scale farmers who dry planted their seeds in anticipation of the long rains in Trans Nzoia and other parts of the country were left counting their losses when seeds failed to germinate. As a result, the governor has called for crop diversification that would help protect farms from unpredictable conditions such as extreme drought.
With the climate change, with the state of our soils, with the low productivity that we do have in this country, it's highest time we put our thoughts together and change the way we do agriculture, change from doing a monocrop in doing other crops alongside the maize.
He also called for a refocus on the management of soils in the country that have turned acidic, calling for a national liming program, possibly sponsored by the national government, to be implemented. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
And that's all we had time for the Business Bulletin tonight. But I should remind you that the Nairobi Securities Exchange did listed one company today, and that is Atlas Development. And that's it for business.
Welcome back. Today, NTV awarded the 4th group of winners of the Watch and Win promotion. The 6 winners walked away with shopping vouchers worth 2,500 shillings each.
All the NTV viewers need to do is just watch and answer some simple questions. The prizes include daily shopping vouchers, TV screens, and a fully paid holiday courtesy of Bonfire Adventures to either Mombasa or Dubai.
After being told I have won, I didn't believe at all because I knew it's just a lie. But now I believe it is true after being given the gift.
And those wide smiles that Edmund and Khartoum had, you'd think they're the ones winning it.
You're just envious because you really want to win.
Yes.
Remember,
congratulations.
all you need to do is literally just watch NTV play the game and you could win.
And stand by to watch the sports with Sean Carter-Villis after the break.
I'm Sean Carter-Villis with the latest sports news. Now, Team Kenya athletes who took part in the Under-18 and Under-20 Africa Championships have refused to travel to their homes, and that's until they're paid their allowances. The 55 athletes who took part in the continental competition are owed $8 for the 10 days, which comes to 80,000 shillings each, and 4.4 million shillings in total.
Mwenye na hold pesa yetu release, kwenye na hold pesa kufanyia nini?
That is a passionate plea from Team Kenya athletes who participated in the age-grade Continental Athletics competition. Despite Team Kenya bagging 46 medals, among them 19 golds in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, their allowances amounting to roughly 80,000 shillings each remain unpaid.
Ni kama consider hawajali finye results ile yenye tumeleta.
Kama wanasema watatulipa, wafanye hivyo kwa sababu tuache kuweka hopes kwa kitu ambayo hatuipati.
The government maintains that the reason for the delay in paying off the allowances is that most of the young athletes do not have bank accounts.
Hiyo ni uongo kwanza, ukisema historia ya account, hiyo ni uongo. Mara ngapi tunaambiwa mtakiwa pesa kwa account, tunaenda 18 walisema account. Nikaenda Finland wakasema account, nilienda Algeria wakasema account, nikaenda Nigeria wakasema account. So hii tena wanataka kusema account na allowances. Kama waweke ya medal, sasa allowances ndio wataika.
Athletics Kenya, on its part, has asked the government to fulfill its responsibility.
And we want to make sure that we don't frustrate our young people. When we talk about Kenya as a powerhouse in athletics, then we have to ensure that as a country, we cannot just pretend to be talking about them, Kenya is a powerhouse, but when it comes to paying peanuts for them, it becomes an issue. Why does it have to be an issue?
The team returned home in batches, with the last batch arriving last night from West Africa, and the athletes who are holed up at rosters here in Nairobi have vowed to stay put until they get what is rightfully theirs. Warote Kiru, NTV.
Now, a lack of proper management of clubs in the Kenyan Premier League came to the fore today as Mount Kenya United failed to turn up for their KPL match against Gor Mahia at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Citing unpaid salaries for durations of at least 5 months, the players downed their tools, demanding an audience with the club's owner. Bottom of the Kenyan Premier League table, but determined to take a stand. Mount Kenya United players staging a sit-in at the City Stadium in Nairobi. With reports of players going up to 10 months without a salary, it is little wonder the team is languishing at the bottom of the table, with relegation a real threat.
Hakuna pesa. It happened like several times, you see. So the trust between me and my players inafanya nini? Ina end up as amount like nikiongea hata saa hizi mimi na wachezaji, not all now naweza waambia kitu waniamini.
I cannot blame them whatsoever. There is nothing to blame. It's been a very rough ride. It's been for a long time, and you know, whatever they said, whatever they did, I'm always proud of them.
So this is a very sad situation. We see players on the pitch, but we forget that they have lives off the pitch. They also have bills to pay and families to take care of. Aside from the unpaid salaries, there appear to be cracks in the playing and technical unit, with the club's owners being asked to mediate.
We just request the owner of the club, who is called Francis Smriti. He can come and approach to us, because he has been talking everything to coach, but coach has been telling us this and this and this and this, nothing's being done.
The 3 free points for Gor helped open a 4-point lead at the helm of the standings, with 52 points after 23 rounds with several games in hand.
We have no issues. I can understand their coaches and their staff. They try to motivate them to Gor Mahia, they're going to drop 2 points. We're not going to drop 2 points. They're going to drop 2 points.
Kogalo's next clash is against Tusker at the Kenyatta Stadium Machakos on Saturday, while Mount Kenya will travel to Kericho to play Zoo FC should the pay dispute be resolved. London Marathon defending champion Eliud Kipchoge has set his eyes on the prize once again when he lines up for the race come Sunday morning. Kipchoge, who holds the world marathon record, will have to overcome the challenge of former marathon world record holder Wilson Kipsang, as well as multiple world and Olympic track athlete Mo Farah. Here's Lois Wangoi with the details.
With the World Marathon title safely in his grasp, London Marathon defending champion Eliud Kipchoge is under no pressure when he runs in the streets of London on Sunday.
I'm going to try to just defend, just to win, but
no more. I don't go for course record. I don't go for world record, but I want to try and win.
Kipchoge, who has not lost a single marathon race since 2013, will be competing against 2017 London Marathon champion Daniel Wanjiru, former world record holder Wilson Kipsang, world half record holder Abraham Kiptum, as well as Britain track great Mo Farah.
I have no complaint because all of us, those who are competing are running on the same weather. But after that, I will be more better this year.
Kipchoge says the secret to his success is his training location and his training partners.
My training for the last 16 years is Kaptagat, and I trust that that's the best place ever in Kenya.
A win on Sunday will see Kipchoge secure a record-breaking 4th title at the London Marathon. Lois Wangoi, NTV Sports, Eldoret.
With the National Swimming Championships for the Deaf diving off today at the Kasarani Aquatic Stadium, we profile swimmer Charity Muruga, who has a dream to fly in the water. The swimmers selected in the 2-day meet will fly Kenya's flag at the World Swimming Championships in Brazil in August.
When I was young, I trained at Aga Khan Primary School swimming. We have different competitions. I have certificate and medals. I have met many people hoping that soon maybe I'll start swimming for the deaf. I've been training always and now I feel I'm okay. I want to practice and work hard until I feel I can fly and I will not have any fear. I want to be confident and I hope I will be number 3 or 2. So, 1, 2, 3. I have been trying, when I see the hearing people are doing, how they are swimming, I've been trying to see how they are doing, and because we didn't have any sport for deaf, I've been just depending from the hearing, but I've tried today, I've tried my best.
We hope that we will be able to choose the best swimmers from the different counties and be able to represent Kenya in the World Championships.
All right, just a quick note, the NBA playoffs are on at the moment. James Harden, by the way, scoring 26 points as the Houston Rockets book their place in the NBA playoff Western Conference semis. That was last night with a 100-93 victory over the Utah Jazz. The other game, by the way, the LA Clippers, they won that game 129-121, beating, just to let you know, the Golden State Warriors. We'll keep you up to date with the latest on that. That's the latest sports news for now. Back to you, Mark and Smriti.
Right, Sean, thanks very much. It's 10:10. We've got to leave it there. Thanks to David Agandoa, our sign language interpreter. I'm Smriti Vidyarth. Bye-bye.
My name is Masai. Good night.